What is going on, guys? Welcome into episode number 7 of the Stay Bricking Show. Fun one today. We're going to be talking about a very exciting book, The World of Metru Nui. We did a table read through before of the Heroes of Metru Nui by iconicstills. Today we're going to be reading through the other book. I mean, technically it came out first, but we're doing it second, but it goes in chronological order of Bionicle. Anyways, it's The World of Metru Nui. It's full of renders. It's got absolutely incredible stuff. We all saw what iconicstills did with the Heroes of Metru Nui, and now we're going to see it all for Metru Nui. Personally, my favorite era of Bionicle is 2001 to 2003, so I could not be more excited. Sorry if I'm glancing down. I'm still trying to get this Instagram story to upload, so I'm trying to get that done. But anyways, no. And by the way, just like the last stream, my camera did not get dropped in a toilet. This is the B cam. The A cam is sitting right up there, just out of frame here, because that top-down shot needs to look as pretty as possible. Once again, running the hilarious rig of batteries over here, a shotgun mic right here, a camera up here, all the monitors in front of me, and the giveaway today I want to talk about because it's a little bit exciting, a little bit of a twist to this one, because it's a $25 e-gift card to Lego Shop. I'll go ahead and put the QR code up right now. You can either scan this or you can go ahead and click the link in the description. Either way, you're going to be able to access it. And as you can see right down at the bottom right here, if Texas has a lead over Ohio State at the time of the giveaway, that's going to go up to a $50 gift card. I have it on right over there. Currently, it is 7-0 Ohio State. Ohio State is the favorite. That's why we're rolling with the underdog. If the underdog's winning, we'll double the giveaway. Why not? And I found out as a part of the last giveaway, make sure you fill out your country of residence for these e-gift cards. I guess for international, you can only use a gift card if it was purchased in that same country. So in order to give away the gift card, I have to make sure that I'm checked out on the right version of lego.com, if that makes sense. So now that that's figured out, fill out the Google form again. QR code. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Got to be better. Rookie mistake. QR code right here. Link in the description. Fill it out at the end of the stream, and we'll see what happens with the college football playoff on over there. But if Texas is winning, that $25 is going to turn to $50. So I guess you all are Texas fans now. Anyways, iconicstills, back to him. Give him a quick little shout out right here. This book is available for free. I have a link in the description to all of iconicstills, his different pages, but The World of Metru Nui, it is digitally available for free. I saw some of you guys in the chat already bring that up. You can donate if you want. I mean, when you take a look at this work, maybe you feel inclined, maybe not. Anyways, this one is also available in 4K for £1 plus. The reason why is it's just too big of a file size. 4K file sizes are massive. So in order to deal with them, it's got to be a paid price. So it's the smallest it could possibly be. Iconicstills, I've shout out his link tree again before, but we've got all this stuff. There's so much content. He goes in depth behind the scenes on how he created these Blender scenes and all. It's absolutely incredible. If you are a VFX person, if you are a production person, you're going to love his content, and give him a follow if you like Bionicle, because it's nonstop content at a quality that I just can't really put into words. But we probably should talk about this book. But before we do, I think it's best if we go ahead and take a quick little look at the quick trailer that he made for this book. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. I'm so excited. I have not opened this book yet, so I've just taken a look at like the last couple of render pages. So I'm going to be reading through at the same time as you. This bee cam is starting to bother me, so let's go ahead and just flip over to the overhead shot here. Look at how much better that is. Look at how much better. This hilarious rig, totally worth it. Still 7-0 Ohio State, by the way. So the World of Metru Nui, iconic stills, blank front, blank pages here. We got our table of contents. In 2001, the world saw the birth of one of the biggest toy franchises ever, Bionicle. It went on to become a multimedia juggernaut that exceeded LEGO's expectations. Children and teens the world over knew of Bionicle. Now, 13 years after the series finished and 7 years after the reboot, it lives on in the hearts and minds of the fans. I have been a fan of Bionicle since 2002, and even now, it's a world and characters have inspired me creatively to do more, to learn more, and make more. I've always had the desire to make 3D renders of my favorite characters, so in 2021, I started learning Blender. Since then, I have been creating posters, learning new skills, pushing myself to improve my craft. This art book represents the last year and a half of my work creating unique and new posters for the Bionicle community from the 2001 to 2003 Bionicle storyline. This book is free for all to download and view. Inside, I have documented my creative thoughts and memories on all 55 posters with behind-the-scenes glimpses at the creative process. I hope the community enjoys this book as much as I have creating it. Much love from Iconic Stills Virtual Photography. Happy Bionicle Day, everyone. All right. It's a nice little indent, and I'll go ahead and catch up on the chat real quick before we go ahead and get started here. You guys have been very, very active. All of the Bionicle years are amazing, says Quentin Mariano. Let me go ahead and actually just real quick here. I'm going to switch back to this source here. I just need to copy something over to the B here. There we go. All the Bionicle years are amazing. They are. They are. Some a little bit more amazing than others. CPA, always great to have you in the chat. The intro slaps, dude. 6 heroes, 1 destiny. Iconic Stills did an insane job with this little teaser, and it was the same case with the Metru Nui teaser. Absolute banger. CPA says, who we wanting to win the bowl game tonight? Well, you want Texas to be winning at the time of the giveaway. Even if you're an Ohio State fan, you can be down a couple points and then rally real quick. I mean, you saw Notre Dame last night, right? Studio Ultra says, the Bionicle fan base is so talented. It truly is, and like we are going to say plenty of times tonight, it's the reason that we just keep on going. It's the reason that Bionicle just keeps living on is the community. Bionicle will be remembered for our, I'm assuming that's a meme generation. Studio Ultra says, hey Chris, how are you? Doing fantastic. It's actually interesting. I'm normally not going by Chris. Christian is normally the straight up. One of my best friends, his name is Chris. So we already got a Chris in the group, so I'm Christian. So it's I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have you guys all in here. Just scrolling up through the chat, see if I missed anything crazy important here. Ben Jammin says, sorry I missed the last episode. Happy to be here. Dude, no worries. I know you're always in here, so absolutely no worries. I can't wait for this one. I saw someone got some Creator Dinosaur sets, so that's awesome as well. 2001, the Toa Mata. 6 mighty Toa heroes wash up on the shores of Metru Nui, and forever the world was changed. Then we got our masks. Obviously, we got Tahu, Kopaka, Gali, Pohatu, Onua, Lewa, and we've also got the names of the masks in the Matoran language. We've got the How, and I'm going to stop there because I am not fluent. And we've got 3 just absolutely sick shots. You are now entering 2001. Look at these 3 beasts. And I think one of my favorite parts about this is the fact that this is like my childhood. So I feel like this book is my imagination come to life. When I was playing with these toys and when I was viewing the media at the time, I mean, obviously we didn't have 4K production or anything like that, but man, this is what it felt like to me as a kid. So to see this now, almost 25 years later, it reignites that passion. So it looks like we're going to go in one by one to each of the Toa here. Tahu, he is bold as, and just quick disclaimer, I know iconicstills mentioned that in the Metru Nui book that the English translation got a lot more fluent for the Metru Nui book, so we might have a couple little hiccups here with the English translation. No worries, we're going to absolutely roll with it. Tahu, he is bold as he is hot-headed. This brave Toa of Fire for many is the symbol of Bionicle. In the book Bionicle Chronicles #1, we see Tahu raise his sword high, bursting flame over the shores of Mata Nui. That temperament and power I wanted this piece to illustrate. This pose came from vivid memories of the show He-Man, whilst the look of the lava-drenched landscape came from simply falling in love with Tahu's original TV spot. That ad gave a darkness and an edge to him that I think for many exemplified who he was as a character. To achieve the lava stream effect, I ended up taking an image of lighting, coloring it red, and overlaying it atop the rocky walls. With the appropriate bloom and depth of field, it gave a convincing look I was happy with. So we've got a little bit of the process here of how he got from his clay render, which is kind of just like the model with a general shader applied. This is the actual construction of the Blender scene. I'll lift this up a little bit so we can get a good look here. You can see it's really just some planes. And then what he's talking about with the depth of field is by actually going through and using the cinema effects in Blender with the camera. Now we turn out to this. So all these little jagged layers and the lighting and the different compositing turns into this. And again, that PDF is going to give you a little bit sharper image than just a camera view of a book. So I encourage everybody to download the PDF at some point if you want to get another look at these. And also, that 4K version for £1 can't beat it. Benjamin says, who is your favorite Toa Mata or Nuva? Lewa. It was Lewa. Green was my favorite color as a kid, so... Landonicles, I agree with you. Lewa Mata's the GOAT. Absolute GOAT. Kevin says, is that Blender animation? Yes, it is. And if you missed the comment earlier in the stream, iconicstills has a whole 4-hour-long video on his process of making these. So it's really quite incredible. And I encourage you to check it out if you're interested in Blender or any of the production process. Golly. Looking through the official renders for Gali Mata, I was incredibly drawn to how they showed the calmness of the sea and how much it felt like a void. So here I wanted Gali as the light in the darkness of the depths. Most of the work for this poster was through compositing in Photoshop. The Blender scene was just Gali with some 3-point lighting. I comped in the ocean floor, the bubbles, and the depth of field. Even the glowing water ball in Gali's hook is actually just a sphere with an emission shader. I added the water effects on top. This was the second of the original posters I ever made, which taught me a lot. I found that there is balance to be had between what you can achieve in camera and Blender and what you can achieve in post. And kind of the production background for that, what he's saying is a lot of times, especially when you're first starting out, and I have a bit of a background with 3D animation and Lego, you try to make everything in your 3D animation. I used Autodesk Maya, Blender a little bit, but more so Autodesk Maya. But you try to do everything in there at first, and you're like, I need it to look perfect coming out of my 3D animation software. That's just not how it works. That's not how you get the best results. The best results are tons of different layers, all composited, all touched up, and all special effects to be able to get this final image. So I really like that he goes into background about what different parts he had to do individually to get to this final render. What I personally love about this is I feel like in a lot of water animations, a lot of water content we see for just all media, a lot of times we don't get a realistic look of the fact that it is pitch black. There's no light that penetrates deep down in the water. So I really like that this gives off, and of course, Gali's eyes coming through the mask. Absolutely fantastic. Onua. Onua is calm and wise. I wanted this poster to reflect those attributes. From the very first moment we see him in his TV ad to his appearance in the first book, he's seen digging only to stop when he breaches the surface. I wanted to riff on the original artwork and to see how close I could get. I began building up my environment with rocks on the floor and the ceiling. I even gave him a boulder to rest his claw. I knew I wanted this one to be a darker poster, so I leaned into the lighting, obfuscating the background with thick smoke and blur covered in shadows. The only sense of direction would be the light shaft, in which in all Bionicle media came from the top left. This time I really focused on depth of field, bringing my f-stop down to a 0.7 so that only his mask was sharp. I wanted the rest to blend in with the muddy background. So just a little bit of an explanation there for you guys who might not know the camera terms. F-stop essentially means the lower the number, the more, I guess in layman's terms, portrait mode it's going to look. It's going to keep something in focus, and then whatever's a distance behind it, what's in focus becomes a shorter distance. Higher f-stop means that the background is clearer than your foreground. Lower f-stop means you can really hone in on a look like this. Think about like a close-up of someone's eyeball and their eyelashes out of focus. Low f-stop. I really like this. I like the reference to that original animation. In the Blender scene, we can see it's actually got some pretty complex shaders going on here, and also a little bit of good geometry, some rocks just spread throughout. But then we see in the final image that it just kind of blends in. It's really quite sweet. Quentin Mariano says, so the book is free. How do I get the book? You can get the book in the link in the description. I linked it to the free version. There's donations that you can give to iconicstills. The actual hardcover book is made in runs, and his website has a little bit more information on that. The next run, I'm not entirely sure when he's going to have that, but maybe I can get that information from iconicstills and we can go from there. Texas just had a massive drop, so that's not good for the giveaway. Moving on to Liwa. Liwa is often seen light on his feet, soaring across the treetops, although usually we had only seen this scene in the day. I wanted to see how he would look against the moonlight. This poster was one of my earliest and marked the first time I had tried to incorporate more background elements rather than relying on the comping process. I discovered the powerful Blender Kit, a tool that lets you access hundreds of community-made assets. Instantly, I got to work laying down the trees and fauna. Another first in this poster is the use of volumetrics. Any 3D artist will tell you how powerful they are, and I quickly became to realize how effective they could be to introduce light shafts, depth, and much more. I was still learning here, so the particle effects were comped in along with the smoke. One thing I do regret is that I got Liwa's shoulders wrong. My bad. So, yeah, you can see that, bring this up real close. You can see the shoulders are a little bit messed up there. Anyways, volumetrics is essentially like a particle emitter, and you can basically tell those particles that each of those little individual particles are light sources and the light you're seeing up. Pretty cool. You can see the different tree effects going in the background. Again, another nighttime scene, so that's pretty cool. I like the inspiration. These comics from 2001, man, they're classic. Absolutely classic. Kevin says, are those pictures made from Blender? Yes and no. They're originally rendered out of Blender, and then he uses Photoshop to kind of bring all of his different renders together into one final composition. So they originate in Blender, but they're touched up and finalized in Photoshop. Oh, this is sweet. I feel like we've never really seen sunsets on Mata Nui for Pokoro. I feel like I've never seen an image quite like this. I can think of the sunset from Mata Nui Online Game 1, but this is quite incredible what's going on here. Pohatu. I think Pohatu's 2001 TV ad is one of the best. The shot selection and ending it on him moonwalking away, amazing. I knew I couldn't top that. So instead, I looked more to the desert imagery to show the vast sands of Pauahi. At the time I was making this poster, the new Dune film was coming out, and I was very excited for Halo Infinite. Both IPs gave me this brilliant version of a sunset desert with dusty winds across endless slopes, and I knew Pohatu would fit right in. I used a bump map to create the sand dunes from a plane and added a sand material from Blender Kit. The sun was just a sphere with an emission node, and I used a backdrop from Unsplash. I added the finishing touches with the flowing sand via Photoshop. Oh, and I couldn't forget his trusty boulder. You can see that's getting a little bit covered up there. So what he's talking about in terms of the bump map. So essentially in Blender, what he's done here is just create like a smooth geometry, and you can drop what's called a normal map or a bump map, which is just a black and white image, and say that this is the texture that's going to be applied to this shade. And that's what all of these little ripples are, is it's just essentially a black and white grayscale photo, but those all correspond to depths. And so that's what gives it all of these little individual, it's not like he's modeling each individual ripple. That would take way too long and would absolutely crush your computer. Benjamin says, that looks like a background I would put on my phone. Great idea. That's exactly right. That would be an awesome one. There's plenty of room right up here for the actual text of your phone. Yeah, it's a great phone background. Kevin says, wouldn't it be cool if the Toa wear capes? Do we ever see the Toa wear anything? Do they ever, I mean, the only cape I can think of Bionicle is Vazon. That's a pretty sweet set. Be like in a mega Toa, essentially. Yeah. I'm looking right behind me at the 2015 Toa. So, another good sunset shot, Kopaka. At the time, between the original 6 Toa Mata posters, I was most proud of this one. I later remade the Tahu poster that you saw on page 5. It represented the culmination of all I had learned up to that point. I brought in background models of snowy mountains, handcrafted a snowy floor plane, and added the appropriate material along with ample volumetrics. Kopaka's original ad saw him as a master over his element, stopping an avalanche with ease. So here I wanted to portray him for the mighty hero he is. The harsh sun beats down behind him, giving him a hero light. I added effects to his sword to show him taming the snowstorm and as the snow whisks around him. I would later create more complicated artwork, but always look back to this one as a mark of when I knew I was onto something special with these posters. Another good phone background. Another absolutely sweet one. Studio Ultra says, the Dune inspiration is so perfect. As soon as I saw that sentence for Pohatu, it clicked for me too. Kevin says, man, I hate these ads interrupting these videos. So I guess I should switch that setting. So I really only wanted to have ads when it's playing back, but I guess YouTube decides to auto put them during the stream too. Figure it out for the next one. If they're coming in way too frequently, let me know and I'll try to switch it, but it should not be coming too much. Let me know if it's like coming in like every minute though. 6 heroes, 1 destiny. This is what I used for the thumbnail. I used a digital download of this photo. Absolutely love the shot. Low angle makes them look absolutely sweet. It almost looks like they're on like an acrylic base too. Awesome. The Toa Mata. The classic Toa team we all know and love. Their look is timeless and each silhouette is individually unique. LEGO and all the teams involved did an incredible job in nailing the look for the group that over 20 years later, the fans still adore. Bionicle's advertising was always very cinematic, with a strong emphasis on lighting and world design. All of its media gave it this larger-than-life sensation, which I wanted to emulate here. I specifically focused on lighting for this render, with each character having their own set of key and fill lights, so each of them stood out equally. The reflective floor is a homage to the Toa Nuva promo art, which I think is some of LEGO's best. And then we got some inspiration from the Toa Nuva. So there, see that right there. The people of Mata Nui. Taraga, oh man, absolutely. I love the Tahunga. If you've seen the previous Mata Nui Monday videos, I mean, you know that the Tahunga are some of my favorites. I absolutely love them. What a shot right here. I love that. I can't wait to get into them some more. Oh, wow. This, I know, the inspiration for... Oh, yeah, yep, there it is, right there. Right there. Didn't even have to look too far. Every legend begins somewhere. This time, I wanted to allow the environment to tell a tale of mystery. All imagery of Kini Nui, the great landmark of Mata Nui, oozed a sense of mystery, this poster had to do the same. Here we see the Turaga meet at Kini Nui to discuss the future of the island and the coming of the Toa Mata. The tagline, "Every legend begins somewhere," has two meanings, one being that this is before the Toa Mata have arrived on the shores of Mata Nui, the other hinting towards their past as noble Toa heroes themselves. To further cement the idea of beginnings, I set the time to sunrise, indicating the start of the story. A lot of the smoke you see here was done in Blender via VDBs, pre-made instances of smoke and variety of shapes, though the smoke atop Kini Nui was comped in. Bring this up for a little bit of a closer look here. There we go. Slightly closer look, really not that much. All right. Now the Matoran. This is a great recreation of the original posters. I think it's maybe the McDonald's actual Happy Meal box that has a look somewhat like this. I also love how he dropped in Onepu and Takua and Holly instead of just the original 6 right in here, which I got sitting right behind me too. Actually, let me flip to this one real quick. Oh no, that camera. The B cam decides to like shut off after like every 30 minutes or something. It's really bizarre. So that's why that showed up that way. The Matoran are the life and soul of Bionicle. Whilst the Toa wield elemental power, it is the Matoran that are the heart of Mata Nui. Templar Studios took the ragtag group of villagers who had no real character development and transformed them into household names the fans know and love. I thought it was only right that a Matoran poster show a group of them from all villages acting both brave and friendly. Armed with their discs and surrounded by each other, this poster was to be a celebration of the people of Bionicle. I very clearly followed the design of the 2001 Toa Matoran posters, complete with the graphic of Mata Nui blended into a corrupted How mask. I used scans of rocky terrain to add more depth and variation and made sure to try to have the Matoran interact with the environment as much as I could. This poster is also the first time I used area lights instead of spots to get a greater fall off for the shadows to increase realism. And that definitely comes across in terms of the realism just being a little bit up there compared to, I guess, that faraway shot doesn't do us the best of justice there. But when you take a look, this almost looks like more of a video game render, whereas this just looks more realistic. And yes, those shadow fall-offs definitely help out. I love this game. There's a stream from way back when. When I did that. Studio Ocho says, I have the Kini Nui as my home screen. Such an iconic structure. Love the misty and foggy island vibes. Nuparu is a nice touch. He is. He is. I love adding those extra ones because we never got them as official sets. I mean, we get Nuparu in the boxer set, but we didn't get him in 2001. He was a part of the story, though. I love all of these. The purple looks so sweet. Wow, these are awesome. Individual shots of the Toa and Turaga. Oh boy. Enter Makuta. The Rahi. Mighty beasts of Mata Nui have been corrupted to oppose the Toa. They must remove the infected masks and free the Rahi. So, again, I mean, not again, but as we all know, the Rahi are not inherently bad. It's the infected masks that make them bad. It took me such a long time to understand that as a kid. I just thought these were all villains. I love the shot. Tarakava here. Nui Jaga. Nui Kopin. 2 Nui Rama in the background. So sweet. Oh, the Manas. Muwaka. So sweet. I love the texture and the shader, the color they ended up using on these transparent blue masks. They have a nice glow to them. The Nui Kopin scourged the sky. Liwa versus Nui Kopin. When I had finished my 6 initial posters for the Toa Mata, I received such immensely positive feedback, so I decided to make more, and the first of those was a series of battle posters between each Toa and a respective Rahi. I tried my best to either represent moments from the story, or to make variations on the lore where needed, so I wasn't repeating Rahi. In this instance, I wanted to show Liwa chasing down the Nui Copen moments before he falls in battle and is corrupted by Makuta's infected mask, only for a certain Toa of Earth to bring him back to light, another reference to Mata Nui Online Game 1. A big goal of these battle posters was to show action and velocity. In this case, I wanted to show them speeding across a jungle. I employed heavy use of motion blur to show their speed and the buzzing of the Rahi's wings. So sweet. You can tell they're moving pretty fast there. It's awesome. Superman inspiration. There's the comic. Another poster of Liwa. You can see that pose. Definitely. Definitely a clear inspiration there. Simeon says, watching this at work. Dude, I love it. I love it. As long as you're not going to get in trouble for it, but I love it. Hopefully it's a nice little background while you're getting some stuff done. Gali versus the Tarakava. All who have played the Mata Nui Online games will know of that incredible moment when Gali jumps in to defend Gakoro from a Tarakava attack. Not only is it an amazing example of the power of flash animation, but an expertly crafted example of the appeal of Bionicle, selfless heroes fighting for what's right, not killing, but saving. In the end, Gali frees the Rahi from the infected mask, making for a grand finale to the confrontation. In Mata Nui Online Game 1, this is the first of those like animations that comes in. This is probably a little bit too bright white than what the image I'm actually seeing is. Those highlights are a little bit, this is just, again, because camera's looking down on a book. If you look at the digital copy, or once these are brought back into production, it'll make more sense for you. Love it. This shot here of Gali doing the backflip is so sweet. I love that he kind of tied that in. Oh no, this is a crime. CPA says, I still haven't played the Mata Nui Online game. A crime, I know. Thinking about streaming it sometime. Oh, dude, absolutely. You know, if you need anyone else on there, you know exactly where to go to. I played that game plenty of different times. Would love to do something like that. Bionic Dan says, just got here. What are you reading? The World of Mata Nui by iconicstills. Bionicle fandom just creating great Bionicle content. You can check out the link in the description to this live stream to, well, one of the links to actually go get the digital version of this book for free. There's also donations accepted to iconicstills. And there's also a link in the description to a giveaway for a Lego Shop gift card. Texas is in the red zone, so that might double the giveaway. For those of you who weren't in earlier, if Texas is winning at the time of the giveaway, that $25 will turn into $50. Studio Ultra says, ah man, love that he brought the Mata Nui Online game scene to life. It's awesome. It's so cool seeing it in, I don't want to say live action. Is that the right word here? And this is the one I was waiting for. Kopaka and Muwaka. Following the trend of bringing scenes from Mata Nui Online game to 3D, I had no choice but to adapt the fight between Kopaka and the powerful tiger like Rahi, Muwaka. This poster is meant to represent a moment in which Muwaka strikes at Kopaka from behind. It was tricky to frame the action into a portrait aspect ratio, so I looked to riff on the moment slightly as to better fit the action. So this was the original scene from Mata Nui Online game. We needed to make this portrait. Another great phone background. The Muwaka and Kanai-Ra sets aren't the most flexible, so I also had to think about how I would position the Rahi so they could facilitate the action, but not bend the pieces too much. I settled on having the Rahi pounce up from behind some snow as to hide the parts that didn't work, and focus on the dynamics between both Muwaka and Kopaka. So if you have this set, you know that it's pretty much just like a straight build. There's no lateral movement, no lateral joints for the head or anything, so in order to make that animation work, I guess he essentially hid some stuff down here behind the snow. It's kind of how I take it. Quentin Mariano says, am I a Bionicle fan still because I was born in 2009? Yeah, doesn't matter when you're born. Touchdown, Texas. Doesn't matter when you're born. You can be 2 years old, you can be a Bionicle fan. Oh, Pohatu versus the Nui Jaga. Another Mata Nui online game. Awesome, but tricky to figure out game that happens in that. Ironically, this moment in the story is when Pohatu can't see all too well, but I wanted to make sure the viewer would be able to tell exactly what's going on. I'm rather proud of the lighting in this setup, allowing the Nui Jaga to be easily seen even in the shadows of the cave. This is when I started to trying to use more particle effects, from the dust in the air to the smoke that's kicked up by Pohatu's mighty kick. It was difficult to frame both the Rahi and Pohatu in shot so we could see the action, but I think it's a nice composite. It also gave me an opportunity to see how well I could construct a cave by kit bashing together different Rahkshi models. This poster also marked a time when I really started to become confident with the Cycles renderer and really move away from Eevee. And I want to just give him a little bit of praise here too, because when you are doing a dark environment like this, if you shoot anything in a dark environment, you know that it can very easily get noisy. It's tough to get that exposure to look right. He absolutely captured that here, but it doesn't look unrealistic. I think when you're doing 3D animation, you can certainly pull it off, but then it doesn't look realistic. This feels right, like we're exposed for the Nui Jaga inside the cave, and everything outside is a little bit blown out. That's exactly what it should look like. Studio Ultra says, nice, the game where Pohatu plays lethal soccer with a giant scorpion. Good times. What's really funny to me is those games don't really tell you what you're supposed to do. You kind of just like have to figure it out. So as like a 5-year-old, that was a long process. Tahu versus Nui Rama. So we saw Liwa and the Nui Copen. Now we've got Tahu versus Nui Rama. I bet you're all thinking, wait a minute, there's one Rahi that we just didn't get to see yet. And I'm sure it's coming, and I know why we haven't seen it yet. But Tahu's going to be taking on the Nui Rama. Tahu didn't have many official encounters with Rahi. However, in Bionicle Chronicles #1, Tale of the Toa, we see Tahu struggle to fight the Kofo Jaga, who thrive on heat. In this moment, we see Tahu burst flame all around to try to fight back. I decided to look at how he reacted then to how he would attempt to shoot down Nui Rama. Keeping up with the theme of action, I added flame and sparks to the wings of the Rahi, showing Tahu's hit his targets. As the fire swirls into the air like a tornado, I added a circular motion blur to the image, insinuating how the Rahi are trapped against Tahu's power. In Blender, to achieve the flame effect, I drew a cylinder that represented the arc of the fire with an emission shader. This gave the environment the light from the flame. I comped in the fire afterwards. So we can definitely see that residual fire coming off of this Nui Rama. It's a little bit up here too. See Tahu just firing up, and they're definitely fleeing from battle. Onua versus Akanera. That's a battle for the ages. We know Onua's got some beef to him, and we know the bull like Rahi, Kanera. This is a good matchup right there. One thing I loved from Mata Nui Online game was that small detail of Onua puffing smoke from the vents of his mask. That singular aspect stood out to me as I was trying to think up instances for Onua taking on a Rahi. When researching Kanera and seeing how territorial they were, the pieces started to fall into place. I took inspiration from Western standoffs, the idea being Onua has dug up accidentally into the grounds of a Kanera, and they both brace to protect themselves. I chose a more rocky environment to get across the idea that Kanera had been bringing rocks and other objects to mark its territory. As Onua puffed smoke from his mask, so did the Kanera from their mouth. Of course, in typical Western fashion, this must be a sunset showdown. I mean, looks sweet. I love the glow. Absolutely love the glow here. You can see the breath coming out of Kanera, and you can see a little bit. It's going to be, let's see, I'll bring this way up here. You can see them coming out of the vents in Onua's mask. Let me straighten that out a little bit. You can see that. That breath. Really quite nice. And I love this blender scene. That Western standoff. See that cliff in the background? And that's what's shown right here. So I really do love that he shows all of the different composites, because you would never guess that this is sitting there like this. You would think that this background's just drawn out, but again, you would crush your computer if you did all of this to not even have it shown on camera. So Onua versus Liwa. Toa Liwa has succumbed to the dark power of Makuta. It's up to the mighty Toa Onua to bring him back to the light. Liwa has been infected by the dark power of the Makuta. I'm sure this will never happen again. I had a lot of requests to make this poster, and so when I thought of how to best tackle it, I studied the Mata Nui Online game animations to get a feel for how the scene plays out. I decided to take a frame from the Mata Nui Online game and see how I could improve it and translate it into a portrait format. The lighting from the Mata Nui Online game was very brown to show how sickly and distorted Liwa had become, so I took those brown hues and applied them to the mist whilst giving it a source from some rich golden light. Using this light gave me the opportunity to create a silhouette of Liwa, much like a Mata Nui Online game, to further cement how the darkness has taken over. And somehow Ohio State scored in the last 10 seconds. They must have run the kickback or something. That's not looking good for the giveaway. I have no idea what happened. It was just 7-7, now it's 14-7. Just catching up on the chat here real quick. Studio Ultra says Liwa has a weak immune system. SMH Liwa. Kini Nui. Dive deep into the Makuta's lair, the sacred temple of Mata Nui, but also a pathway into darkness. I can't believe Ohio's that sucks. Great shot here. Absolutely great shot there. I love Liwa. I love this pose. He's just staring down Kopaka like, yeah, I am the man. I am the man. That looks so cool. The Toa at Kini Nui. This is a big moment. The Toa Mata are now on their way to Kini Nui, where they will place their masks and receive the golden kanohi. We don't see Kini Nui clearly in any Bionicle media, surprisingly. We see it a lot, but the layout is constantly changing, so I had to come up with my own layout for the space. In my research, Kini Nui is mostly seen amongst the jungle with desert rocks and sand scattered amongst the floor. We also see the image of a great Mata head statue far behind the temple. With this, I tried to combine all that I could make what I feel is the most consistent look to Kini Nui. The Kini Nui model was kindly supplied by Box Turret, and I have to say, it is beautiful. So there's our Mata head way in the back. That makes me think of the Mask of Light movie. And I never actually noticed that we never got like a full look at Kini Nui, just different. That's Mata Nui Online Game 1, obviously a comic, and that's one of the animations. So that's pretty sweet. I've been waiting for this one. Studio Ultra with the pun of the day. Lee was showing how the cool guy, how much more fly he is. Plus 10 points for the pun there. But here we go, the Toa Kaita versus the Manas. The Toa will unite and find more power in the joining. They shall merge their skills, their knowledge, their wills to become wisdom and valor. Named in prophecy Weiruha and Akamai, in these forms they are the Toa Kaita. The Toa Kaita versus the Manas. If it weren't for the cancelled Bionicle 2001 game getting a fan release, I may not have had the visual aids needed to nail this poster as well as I did. Thanks to the cutscenes from that game, I got a better understanding of the environment that I couldn't from Mata Nui Online game alone. I modeled some simple pillars and graded floor circles to mimic the large green spots seen in my inspiration that adorn the floor. After adding a very thick fog, I wanted to illustrate the idea that deep in Makuta's lair, the Toa are the only light to be seen. So I added a strong shaft of light that targets the Toa as they ready themselves for their biggest fight yet. Beneath the action, we see a quote from the novels to remind the viewer of the importance of the moment in this story. So again, coming back, we can see all the little Manas crabs back in the background. You got two out of focus, and Weiruha and Akamai are just completely surrounded. Dead to rights. Halftime of the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, 14-7 Ohio State. Again, What does that mean for this stream? If you just joined in and have no idea why I've been talking about the bowl game. If Texas is winning at the time of the giveaway, that giveaway will turn into a $50 Lego Shop gift card. If they're not, it will be a $25 giveaway. Come, give into the flame. Let it consume you and all you hold dear. I know you can feel it burning deep inside. Got like anti-versions of themselves. I'm interested to see this one. Toa versus the Shadow Toa. I have no background information on this. This is going to be a fun learning experience. There are two versions of this battle, though one is considered non-canon, even though I prefer it. So instead of trying to choose between both versions, I opted to show the Toa locked in combat with their darker selves. This was an opportunity to really show off the Toa's powers. We don't often see elemental powers in full blast, and while I was still very new to Blender, I wanted to give it my best shot. A lot of the effects were comped in via Photoshop, but some parts, like the rocks Shadow Pohatsu would conjure, were rendered inside Blender. We also didn't see much of this arena, so I opted for a shadowy cave clouded in mist. Can someone in the chat please give some context? I actually don't have a lot of background on it. Can someone please in the chat give some context about the Shadow Toa, exactly what they are? I must have missed a book. I don't quite know what this is depicting. It looks absolutely sweet. I don't quite know what it is. Oh, shouldn't have rotated the book. That one's on me. This, I know what this is. Oh, this is awesome. The people of the world are builders, but look into their hearts and you will find that they also have the power to destroy. I am that power. I am destruction, and I will destroy you. Shout out to Makuta. I almost wish he had that camo Matoran at one point. The Toa vs. Makuta. The ultimate test of the Toa, they must face the darkness that's terrorizing the island head-on. The future of Metru Nui rests with them. Metru Nui Online game, I feel, did such an incredible job showing how this fight looked that I decided there was no need to reinvent the wheel. I should simply try to take what Templar Studios did and bring it into 3D, like I had done for other posters. The swirling mass of parts that made up Makuta was kindly supplied by Box Turret, which made this poster far easier to make. I envisioned a mound of rubble and broken pieces beneath Makuta as the Toa squared up to take him head on. I took extra care to try and match the lighting from Metru Nui Online game with the rich orange rim lights and the deep yellow glow around the arena. I mean, absolutely crushed it. If the goal was to match that lighting, he absolutely crushed it. And if you look real close in, I'll bring this one close up, you can see the Howl mask of Makuta. All right, so the chat looks like they got some information about me, about the Shadow Toa. Kevin says, I thought the Shadow Toa were a fan-made thing. Studio Ultra says, Shadow Toa were created by Makuta in Mangai as darker versions of the Toa. As he famously says, I am nothing. Kind of reminds me of that Greek mythology story where he says he is no one. I think we're going to see that. Is that the Odyssey? I think that's the Odyssey. How's Christopher Nolan going to make that scene look? And we are on to 2002. I'm going to switch over to the other camera real quick, but I got to flip it back on. So just give me 1 second here. There we go. So yeah, this camera just like shuts off after like 15 minutes. So now you know why it's the B cam. But anyways, 2001, absolutely sweet. I can't wait for 2002. With the Heroes of Metru Nui, essentially we were just going through 2004. What's interesting about this book is that we actually have 3 full years. I mean, we're on page 50, and there's 150. We are exactly 1/3 through the way. I'm going to go ahead and just put the QR code up for anybody who needs it. Imagine a Chris Nolan Bionicle film. One can dream, right? At what point is AI going to be good enough to make us one? How about that? That'd be pretty sweet. So we're going to jump in to 2002. 2001 set the stage for Bionicle. Great success. Not a large amount of, I mean, our villains were the Rahi, some of my favorite sets ever. I like that they were these bigger sets that were like just larger than the Toa. But something that we lacked from Bionicle was a smaller version of a villain. Someone that maybe gives the Toa trouble in numbers, not by brute force. And so enter the Bohrok of 2000. Nearly had that transition. Let's try that again. So enter the Bohrok. Makuta may be defeated for now, but something more primal has since been awakened. And I will take myself off at some point from the screen here as soon as it starts to cover up the book a little bit too much. But I can run both, and while this thing is still on before it auto powers off, why not? Kevin says, are you going to continue with 2000? Oh, I don't have it in this. I don't have the chat in this scene. All right, well, then bye-bye me. Are you going to continue with 2002 sets, or are you going to finish another time? Nah, dude, we're going to go through the whole thing, Kevin. If you saw any of the last stream, that thing was like over 2 hours, and I expect nothing less this time around. So it's going to be a long one. I don't know if I have enough water. We're going to roll through it. CPA says, oh, that Bohrok page is slick on the left. It is. I love the light sources on the eyepieces. It really gives them... This brings back some memories. Levok. Absolutely sweet. Hans Zimmer, of course, would make a killer soundtrack for a Bionicle movie. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love these on the side here. Oh, shoot. We got the Balrog Queens. We got a Bohrok Va here. I can't wait to see him talk about the Bohrok Va. It's going to be pretty cool. Wake one, you wake them all. Another great phone background. There are so many. There are so many. The Bohrok sleeping. Made for last year's... So, if, by the way, anybody who doesn't know why it says 810 Onicle, August 10th is Bionicle Day. Get it? Bio. Everybody got that? There's a thumbs up. Made for last year's Bionicle Day, I was completely drenched in the version of a hanging xenomorph from the Alien series. The Bohrok swarm share a lot in common with the xenomorphs, and I had this vision of a Bohrok hanging, its eyes lit up as it just woken up, surrounded by green mist and darkness. This was meant to be a simple teaser, and I think a simplicity helps define the form of the subtle waves emanating from the Bohrok's curled form into the vignette, obscuring most of the Bohrok shape. I had even modeled a replica of the mechanism that holds the Bohrok up in their canisters, but decided it would be best if I covered more of the poster in shadows. I also opted to have the Bohrok not totally centered, much like a Dutch tilt, to suggest something isn't quite right. Let's take a look back at that. Yeah, interesting. So the poster actually ends like right there. So yeah, it is. That's really interesting framing. That just goes to show you how much thought goes into every little bit of this by iconicstills. I do think it's quite interesting that you talked about you had the piece where they hang from the lid of their canister. That's pretty cool. You can see it in the wireframe there and in the blender scene as well. Tahu discovers Tanakh. Another poster I made in celebration of Bionicle Day 2022. Originally, I only had the previous poster and an older Tanakh one to release, but on the morning of August 10th, I had a spark of inspiration. After messing around with camera angles, I settled on a remix of the classic 2002 posters of Tahu coming across a lone Tanakh in a Bohrok's nest. It was simple, but with the proper lighting and smoke, the poster really came alive. This was made in Eevee before I switched over to Cycles, so I would use quite a few lights to simulate the light bounce that you get with the Cycles render engine. The fire and smoke effects were added after the render, but I used emission shaders for the eyes and Tahu's fire sword, so my render properly dispersed light where it should be. Love it. That green smoke is present in quite a few that 2000. Oh my goodness, this is incredible. And this is another one where I would assume he probably used more area lights. This looks a lot more, this reminds me a ton of that Tahunga, I'm sorry. Poster that we saw way back in the beginning. The Bohrok Swarm. The swarm is awake and has been unleashed upon the island of Metru Nui. Looking through official media, it was hard to find any renders of all the Bohrok breeds together, so I saw it as a great opportunity to make a de facto Bohrok Swarm poster, one to represent the entire species. The Bohrok are known for demolishing all on their path on their quest to clean it all, so I felt it was only right that they marched through a jungle, clearing a path as they stampeded, kicking up dust in the wake of their chaos. This poster was when I properly got the hand of the Geoscatter plugin that allowed me to better populate my scenes with fauna and all sorts of environmental detail. I feel this brought my work to a whole new level. So you can see in that Blender scene, and it's really interesting when you see like a 3D, if you ever see like a behind the scenes of a movie, you'll see like the VFX, like this is what it looks like in the models, but then like this is what it's always really amazing. But it's essentially, that is how those plugins work. It's quite fascinating. It's really incredible. Kevin says, who did this artwork? That was iconicstills. Links to all of his different pages in the description of this video. Or live stream. I guess it's still a video. I like that there's like multiples, not just the 6. I think that was an important thing to show. Lavok. Beware the Bohrok. This is one of my favorites I've ever made. I feel when I started working on the Bohrok posters, I really leveled up my 3D skills and started producing stuff that really surpassed my older work. Here I wanted to continue the theme of the Bohrok traveling forwards without a care for what's in their path. We see a group of Lavok ravaging a jungle, and the lead Bohrok's pose implies the urgency of their task. Again, I used Geoscatter to really build a dense jungle environment for the scene and used a strong sunlight coming from the top left of the frame. A lot of my posters were at sunset or sunrise, so I wanted to try to make some more daytime renders. We still had the richness of the pinky skies, but the sun is still high enough that it's not considered to be a sunset. Which is interesting, because I actually would have guessed that this is more of a sunrise, sunset, maybe civil twilight for you pilots out there. Setting. Interesting that it was designed to be sunrise. Love this. Bohrok. This time I decided to pay homage to the Bohrok Swarm card game and the really unique art they held of the Bohrok, in particular a card of a group of Bohrok marching in the desert. I thought, what might this look like in 3D? And I have to say, I'm very pleased with the final outcome. In the background we can see Bohrok obscured by faded dust clouds, kicked up from the swarm racing through the sandy canyons, and the leader of the group stands atop a broken rock, ordering the rest to march on. Much like a desert, I wanted the sun to feel like it was beating down, so the sky is almost blown out with the highlights to better convey this. Yeah. This is actually kind of accurate to what I can see on the page here. Pretty blown out. One thing to note with the Bohrok vendors is they're also the first time I used glass shaders to trans pieces, which helped me finally get the look I wanted for the Bionicle eyes. And that's actually really awesome. I'll bring this up closer. It looks very reminiscent of those pieces, and that light source is coming from way within and then shading through this outer shell of glass. Not like this entire piece is glowing. It's a subtle difference, but it definitely conveys the actual piece a little bit more, in my opinion. Bohrok. Not a lot of detail about Bohrok. Let's get straight to the point. Bohrok, the ice Bohrok, able to shoot icy blasts from their claws. Inspiration was that box art comic. Pretty sweet. This actually looks a lot like one of the Bohrok-Kal. Maybe I'm thinking of that. Yeah, it's almost like a mirrored version of that Tanakh we're about to get to. Okay, this is a pretty complex one right here. Toa Tahoe's lost the mask. Come on, man, we gotta be better than that. We gotta do better than that, Tahoe. Tanakh was my first ever Bionicle and holds a special place in my heart, so I had great fun tackling this poster in particular. When researching for ideas on this poster's direction, I felt it was time I tried recreating a comic book cover, and so when I saw issue number 5, Beware the Bohrok, As we know from CPA stream a couple weeks ago, Randy Elliott I believe he was the colorist on this one. My information is not at the top of my head. CPA, maybe if you're still in the chat, you can provide us some detail there. But yes, I think number 5 was colored, or I'm sorry. I'm completely botching the word, but I hopped on a stream with CPA from his interview with Randy Elliott, who worked on all of these comics. And so, yeah, we talked a lot about the covers and how originally he got to work a little bit on issues, I think, 2 through 9, and then either 10 or 11 was his first one. Anyways, subtle little shout out to CPA, and back on track here with the book here. When researching for ideas for this poster, okay, so yeah, but right there. I knew this would be the poster for Tanakh. I went about posing the characters first, trying to add a bit more to the set than seen in a comic, more Bohrok, more sky, more effects. Then I kit bashed rock formations together to make the jagged volcanic land, and last, the lighting. This was a volcanic place, and looking at the source, I could see glowing smoke seeping from the ground, so I made sure to position a lot of the lights beneath the rocks to give a menacing tone to the poster with their underbellies lit up. Nuvok. Wow, this lighting is awesome. This is one of my favorites so far, actually, just this entire composition. Oh, you can see how much of them are sitting in the background. I really like how this one turned out. Nuvok. When I was thinking up ideas for a Nuvok poster, the idea that stuck in my mind was one of a series of Nuvok making their way through a harsh, rocky terrain underground, shrouded by mist and illuminated only by their eyes and glowing crystals around them. I released a time-lapse of this process online for all to see, so hopefully everyone can understand the hard work, trial and error, along with many steps it takes to make posters of this style. I'm really happy with how this one came out. I originally thought to use a dual tone for the color, but when I tried it with only green lighting, it clicked in a way I didn't predict. I especially like how worn edges of the Bohrok shield stand out in the dark. It gives the mostly black frame a needed jolt of detail. And just real quick to touch on what he means by dual lighting, or dual tone lighting. So a lot of times in movies, you'll see that they're lit with like blue and orange is a very, very popular one. Dual tone, they're opposite sides of the color wheel. It has a look that we have all come to know and be accustomed to. In essence, it probably would have had purple coming in from another side or something like that. But then I like it better too with the green lighting because I think it also has the eyes pop a little bit more. It almost feels like there's like a filter across the whole thing. So I really like how that turned out. Galak, emerging from the waters. For Galak, I wanted to try something different. For a while, I had the iconic imagery of the Apocalypse Now Final Cut poster stuck in my mind. The idea of a swarm of Bohrok hiding in the water melded very well with that idea. Another thing I wanted to try was lightning. It was something I hadn't properly attempted before, but I think it worked quite well. I used Blender Kit to find a body of water, and to apply a rain texture on top of the Bohrok's face shield, I added the ripples via Photoshop. The lighting was a mixture of images from Unsplash and emission shaders inside of Blender. I submerged the Bohrok slightly in the ocean and used some subtle lighting to allow the lightning. Boy, that's a tongue twister. Some subtle lighting to allow the lightning to be the main source of luminance. This was one of my most popular posters, and it gave me the confidence to keep trying new and exciting things with my renders. Here we just got all 6 of them. Very similar to those posters we saw way back with the Toa and the Taraga. Now we got them with the Bohrok and the Bohrok-Va. Well, I'm sure maybe we'll get a little bit of a look at the Bohrok-Va. If you wake one, you wake them all. Way to go, Toa. Tanakh, 2022. I made this poster for Bionicle Day 2022 and thought it would be the only poster I'd release that day. Turns out I was wrong. The goal of this poster was to try and take on the promotional art LEGO and Advance made back in 2002 for the Bohrok line. Most reminiscent of this, in my opinion. I have since surpassed the limitations of this poster, but I still like what I achieved with the knowledge I had at the time. I was using Eevee for all my work back then and would try to simulate global illumination by placing lights around the scene to mimic the bounce lighting. It wasn't perfect, but it got the job done. The flame and smoke effects were added via Photoshop, as I hadn't learned about volumetrics at this point. I think it's pretty sweet. I love the nest in the background. In terms of the actual model, you can see that's just an image, essentially. The Bohrok. I am pumped to see I can't wait to see some art of Godok and Godok. Absolutely incredible sets. So sweet. We didn't get enough content of them in the official Bionicle. I'm jacked up to see this. The Bohrok, the deadly queens of the Bohrok hive. This poster was an exercise in trying new techniques out. Firstly, this was the first poster I used volumetrics inside of Blender for. Secondly, it's the first time I used curve and array modifiers to make objects, specifically the antennas for Godok and the piping for both Bohrok. This set was a simple series of rocks and cylinders with stone materials, and by the way, the set is in the set, not the set. It was the lighting that made this poster work. I made sickly green spotlights to highlight the edge of both characters and to let the shadows define their form. Bloom was also used to help both the Bohroks stand out. In Photoshop, I then started the trend of labeling the names of each character on larger posters. Like these, I felt it was very 90s Technic. Yeah. It's a nice change. It's a nice change for sure. The Power of the Krana. Definitely from the comics. Yep. Absolutely inspiration for the comics because Lewa went down. Or Lewa. I'm sorry. I just sometimes I go back and forth between them. Lewa. I know. I always said Lewa for the longest time. So gonna get there. Gonna get there. Onua saves Lewa. This is the second time now that Lewa has fallen prey to mind control. He and his Koro have been captured by the Bohrok swarm, and only Onua can save the day. Again. I wanted to merge the frames from 3 moments in the comics to illustrate what it must have been like for Onua to come across this infected village. I combined the panels listed in my inspiration to come up with this powerful look. The god rays were added in through Photoshop, as they didn't come out quite as I expected from the render, but I still did get the very stark lighting by blocking out the sun with the tree line. I think this poster may be one of the best I've ever made. I think it looks the most cinematic out of some of the ones that we've seen so far. I think it definitely has that cinematic vibe to it. This clay render looks just so complex. The blender scene too, you can see he's using a lot of fauna. Let's see. Yes, the boxer. Incredible set. And there's Galak. I can tell you right now. Yep, it's Galak. Love this. This looks so sweet. When trying to think up ways to introduce the boxer, I came to the conclusion that I had to remix on the cinematography of the Bohrok flash animations. I didn't want to have the boxer in shadow though, so I opted to take the idea of this burst of light behind him, letting the dark frame of the vehicle stand out amongst the darkness. To help sell the idea of this light a bit more, I littered the walls with the same green crystals from my Nuvok poster to give it the idea that it is a large clump of these crystals that's giving off the light. I almost thought there was like a gate way back behind that was giving him this backlight. I added a Galak in the right frame out of focus as I wanted to give a sense of urgency to the posters, something for the boxer to face down rather than simply standing on show. Yeah, I like it better. I mean, I think if you take much different composition being told there. The Exo Toa. Something else that we never really got to see much of. I wish we got more 2002 content. I really do. The Exo Toa looks cool, sounds cool, and is cool within the comics. All up until it's not. And now we gotta break the bad news about the Exo Toa. A big issue with this set is its severe lack of posability, which made creating this poster a harder task than expected. Due to the legs not really being able to bend and the very complex mechanisms of the right arm, I decided to try my hand at making something that could go on the front of a canister or a boxed set. So I followed a lot of the guidelines set by LEGO and Advance, with the character striking a pose towards the camera and a bright light behind them to make the set stand out. I then continued the trend of labeling the character in the Matoran font so the texted elements would be minimalistic but simple, much like the Technic branding. Wow, look how big that background is. I love that inspiration. I can definitely see that cavern here. The Bohrok Queens. Okay. This is showing up not perfectly on camera, I know, but what I'm looking at right here is top 3 that we've seen so far. This is absolutely incredible and gives such a larger sense of scale of the Bohrok Queens. Oh, that's just incredible. Fools, you think you have won, but you cannot imagine what you have unleashed. That actually came like after the fight there. Interception, Texas. The comeback is on. Toa versus the Bohrok. LEGO in Advance made an incredible set of renders for this momentous battle, so it was a high bar of quality to hit for me. I love the imagery of the Toa surrounding the queens, firing their elemental powers, and thought I should try to capture the moment just before that. I knew this poster had to be special, so I even modeled together the environment, studying the official renders to see how the pillars and ribbed walls were constructed. While it's most likely not accurate, I think my set design gives a close enough impression to the official renders. A small detail I added in was making Liwa the one front and center. He faced and suffered the wrath of the Bohrok firsthand, and it was only right he lead the assault. Okay, I like that. I really like that, yeah. He's got the one with the most revenge on his back. He's the one who's the most pissed off. For sure. And then, of course, after I just want to go back and look at this one more time. This is just beautiful. This is just absolutely beautiful. Oh, man. All right, just catching back up in the chat here a little bit. Studio Ultra says, the way iconicstills try to adhere the actual set articulation as to be more accurate, so incredibly brilliant. It adds like more of the realism to it. I think when you look at, some of those Bionicle movies, and part of what made the Lego movie so awesome was that it stuck to like how an actual Lego could move. So yeah, it adds an element that you need. Toa versus Bohrok equals Texas interception. They're not moving the ball, though. It's 3rd and 11, so gonna need some points to get this giveaway to double. Golly Nuva. The Toa have been upgraded, and they are better than ever. I wanted the next 6 posters of the Toa Nuva to show them off as upgraded heroes looking slicker and more active than their previous posters. For Golly, I looked at her original ad of her climbing a cliff from the sea and thought, what if I mixed that with the imagery from Breath of the Wild? What I ended up with is a lovely moment of Golly scaling a wall with her new Toa tools against the backdrop of a beautiful sunset across calm ocean waters. The rocks falling off the top of the frame were compiled in after the render, although all the cliffs in the foreground and background were all rendered within Blender. To get the haze of the sun, I added some cloud VDBs to the bottom of the frame so they caught the light. Yeah, I love that he took the idea of the original Golly and then the Golly Nuva performing that animation. I really love that idea. Oh, Nuva. Oh my gosh. This just took me back. If you know what this is from, I don't want to say it's a cursed image, but man, I haven't seen that in a long time. This art. It's been a while. If any of you guys know where it's from, throw it in the chat. Quentin Mariano says, Golly Nuva looks beautiful. Yeah, agreed. And Studio Ultra says, can this guy nail a sunset or what? He absolutely kills it. I know he tries to go and do ones that are like just during daytime, and I think the desert shots and the Kokoro Powahi shots definitely do a good job too. Same with the couple we saw in Kokoro. But man, those sunset shots, you can't beat the golden lighting. Most of Onua's official promo art had him surfing over earthquakes with his Toa tools. However, I wanted to see him wielding them in his hands more. So I decided to flip Onua's Mata poster on its head. Rather than him calmly breaking through the surface with light shining down on him, this time he's burst through the ground, light shining up beneath and behind him. He's not witnessing the action, he is the action. The rock formations were all made with within Blender, thanks to the Blender kit again. The light and dust explosion effects were comped in after the render. What I think is the best part of this poster is how more engaging Onua looks this time around. His pose, I feel, drills home how more ready the Toa are now for any future threats. Yeah, definitely. I like it as like an alternative. Like I could see this as like the back of this box. I know this is a canister, so stop. If this was the back of this, I can totally see that. Bingo! Bionicle the game. Nailed it, Nitron. Nice to have you in, Nitron. Liwa Nuva. Can anyone... I know those are just his gears, but why do they look purple? Like, this is official content. Like, someone please... I always thought they were, like, his lungs. Growing up. Images of Liwa usually see him flying with his Toa tools tucked behind his back as a make-do wings. I thought it was time we see Liwa wield them as the katanas they are while still leaping into the air. So kind of another iteration of what we saw with Onua of we always see so many of the images of the Toa wielding them one way, whether it's Kopaka. I'm sure we're going to see Kopaka probably wielding his ice... Well, maybe not because he wields the ice blades in the Mask of Light movie. Another Bionicle the game art right there. But it's cool to see it in this separate way. I feel like, I mean, I personally, we can see right here, there's no real art. This is the only one of him actually wielding the katanas. Images of, okay. I wanted to follow the look of the original Toa Nuva promo art by having him amongst jungle fauna, although I'd place him in front of said jungle so he'd stand out. He is a green Toa in a green scene, so I also added a blurry highlight behind him so he would stand out even more. This doubled up as a way to show him levitating upwards. I thought the piece wasn't quite finished, so I added a sword glint atop the tip of his right tool and raised the blacks on the backdrop so only Liwa would have a full color space. This is a trick I've used on many of my other posters to help the character stand out. So what he's saying there is, and it's not quite crystal clear through the camera, but essentially the blacks that are in this shadow here, they're actually more of like a gray, and Liwa is the only one that actually has full contrast. So you see this like less saturated image, less contrast image, and your eyes just drift towards this one. And here's actually a great daytime photo. Nitron with the answers. Behind the scenes of the film production and the in-universe lore, they said the purple bits in Matoran and Toa were their organic tissue. Thank you. Studio Ultra says, I personally like iconicstills Liwa Nuva mask. Proportions a lot less round and more sharp too. I have to agree with you. I feel like it's also a little bit more reminiscent of the Miru, the original Liwa's mask, versus, you know, in here. I like it better too. It also kind of has more of like the movie vibe to it and the game vibe than the actual set. Toa Nuva. Tahu continues his lava surfing days right into being a Toa Nuva, although this time his Toa tools can become a rad lava board. Most promo art for Tahu's sees him riding molten waves, and while I could have made a render of him standing still instead, I really wanted to try and see what my take on his surfing would look like. To create the lava, I made a large plane in Blender and subdivided it lots. Then I used the proportional editing tool to protrude lumps and mounds in and out of the plane. I added a lava material from Blender Kit and duplicated the plane, overlapping it on itself in different positions to give it the cascading look. I added the lava flakes and specks via in via Photoshop to give the sense of this impact with the lava. Love it. Love all three. I was going to say, this reminds me the most of that original animation. Nice. He's using his mass powers. Toa Nuva wears the mask of speed, yet we rarely see him running. Yeah, retweet. By the way, I should probably pull that message down, huh? I wanted to change that, and what better track for him to speed down than the open deserts of Pauahi? I wanted to try and use a wider lens for the shot. Mainly I favor narrow lenses because I like to get focus on the details, but here I challenge myself to use a 30mm lens and try to capture some depth from Pohatu's form, from his foot protruding into the lens to his Toa tool trailing behind. I used the same environment from his Mata poster, as I felt the sandy dunes worked quite well, but at a different time of day, I tried to keep up with the theme of the action shots for the Toa Nuva, but also in the day. Again, this one's pretty reminiscent of the instructions. We've seen that pretty commonly so far. The instructions have provided a lot of his template. Yo, yeah. Dude, you're right. Toa Nuva's coming for your widgets. They're obsessed with them. 100 widgets for anything. Ah, they did give it. They did let him keep it as, I'm going to call that a spear. Not a spear. I'm sure I'm wrong with that. It'll say it in here. That's very fascinating. That model space turning into this. Pretty sweet. Another sunset. Absolutely crushes it. When I was about to start my poster for Kopaka Nuva's form, I had to think about the color combination. Traditionally, Kopaka uses blues against white, maybe an orange for a sunset, but I wanted to try something a little different. So I decided I'd try out a lovely pink dawn, reflecting pinky tones across the snow. Even the clouds have shades of pink in them. It's a different look, and I feel quite striking. The next part was Kopaka's pose. He's usually standing tall and proud. I wanted to show him respecting the environment and bracing himself for anything. I made him hold his Toa tools like a staff to support him. Staff. There it is. There it is. Staff. To support him with one knee facing outwards as he looks across the horizon. So there's a little bit of a modification to the pieces. So far we've seen a lot of the fact that they tend to typically move the same way the sets move. Obviously we don't get knees until some villains show up in a couple pages, I'm sure. Well, I guess not a couple pages. We still got a little bit of time until those guys show up. But the knees are coming. I also added a few extras, such as illuminating his eye as if it was in the Mask of Light film, and surrounding him with the snow particles so he's still in action. Sweet. I like it better. I mean, I think you take that away, and I love that the tone of this just matches the tones that are in here. That's what comes to mind there. Oh, sweet. So this is kind of like the recreation. We had the, see if I can find the page. Did I go too far? There it is. The OGs. And then their protodermis cells. Oh, post-protodermis. I love this hint of red. That's awesome. The Toa Nuva. The Toa have been upgraded and they are now forever changed. The reveal ad for the Toa Nuva rising from the pool of protodermis is nothing less than iconic. It was an ad that inspired the look for this poster and the Toa Mata group poster. I wanted something clean that would show off the group in a similar way to the group posters from LEGO. Like the Toa Mata poster, I gave each Toa their own set of key, fill, and backlights so they would equally stand out. I decided to keep the background clean as the Toa were the focus of the style, not the environment. In the comp, I graded the coloring on each character so their lighting shifted hues slightly more to their primary and secondary coloring. Oh man, that looks so much like Golly. Like, well, duh, it's Golly. Toa Mata Golly. Hopefully you guys know what I mean by that. There they are. These villains we got to get through first. The Bohrok-Kal, the clones. After the Balrog's imprisonment, their secret weapon has been unleashed. The Bohrok-Kal are powerful and driven for one thing: revenge. Mask of Time. Nice little appearance there. Love those posters. This is so sweet. You are now entering 2003. If only Texas could enter the Ohio State side of the field, we'd have a chance. Still 14-7. Love. Oh, sweet. Look at how these are done. So these are recreations of those original ones, but it's the 2003 Matoran style. And we have to give a special shout out to Kongu and Nuparu there. We never got set versions of Lei Matoran and Onu Matoran in this style. It breaks my heart, man. It really does. Those would be such cool sets. I've seen someone make like a custom whole army of them, but I really wish we got that Kongu. Revenge of the Kal. What a nice... I can't wait to read about this. The fallen Mata head right here. The Balrog are trapped and the Bohrok queens and the Bohrok forces quelled. Now only the Bohrok-Kal remain to seek revenge and free their queens. Following the theme of revenge, I wanted this poster to be foreboding. I had them posed in front of a stormy dawn to signify that this is the beginning of their fury. They stand over a ruined Mata head statue that we see behind Kini Nui. I wanted to show it tattered and parts missing with the Kal standing atop it to show how destructive they would be to Mata Nui. This was actually the first poster I started experimenting with shifting over to cycles for rendering. So 2 passes were collected here, one via Eevee and another through cycles. I then layer and merge them together through Photoshop. I think that definitely comes through to me that they're absolutely more destructive because we get the Bohrok swarms and they do their thing. Obviously, they wreak their havoc and all that. But seeing just the 6 here take out this, holy statue, we'll call it. It immediately is like, all right, they're not messing. They're coming for a big fight. Galak and Levak-Kal. Oh, Bohrok-Kal Kaita. We don't get too many Kaitas in official content, so it's nice to see we actually get one. Texas is listening, by the way. They actually crossed into Ohio State side of the field. Surprisingly, for all their immense force, the Bohrok-Kal have a rather quick stint to the story. They really do. I decided to try and show a handful of battles between the Kal and the Toa Nuva to help us with that. Specifically for Galak and Levak-Kal, there weren't many moments for these two where these two Bohrok fought Toa directly. There is a moment where they form a Bohrok-Kal Kaita Ja, but I wanted to show them in their normal forms, so I came up with the scene of Gali and Liwa taking on the Kal. The focus on this poster is the Bohrok, so I made Gali out of focus in the background, or in the foreground, and Liwa off to the corner of the screen. I also positioned all characters so the Toa on the left and the Bohrok are on the right to show they are on opposing sides. Oh, I really like how he incorporated their actual logos down there. Logos, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. What a nice color combination. It's a really interesting Onua, and then we got the blue, the red, silver, black, green. Just got about just about every color there. Tanak-Kal. I kept the trend of showing the Kal fight in the Toa, and what better moment to recreate than when Onua and Pohatu are trapping Tanak-Kal with a really shiny ball. Is that right there? And that up there too. I knew I wanted to recreate that comic page, but selecting an angle was a tricky process. I settled on one that showed all 3 characters at once. This way the viewer can see all aspects of the action, from Pohatu kicking the ball to Tanak-Kal readying to fire a bolt of lightning at poor Onua. I did make some creative changes to the scene. Tanak isn't standing anymore. I made him leap as I felt it was better for composition, though we keep the tree behind him that ultimately gifted him defeat. One thing I chose to obscure here is the shoreline. Creating water that foams up on the shore is quite difficult, and rather than spending time working on that, I simply hit it for ease. So that cliff just kind of drops off. I imagine making it in that background and having it blur properly is a big challenge too. We're running low on water. If any of you guys were in the last stream where I talked about the Death Star and how I want to do a 30-hour straight stream of building that thing, I need a 5-gallon jug of water right over there that I can just go and fill up. That'd be so perfect right now. I am almost out of water. We're battling though. Bohrok-Kal. When I was making this poster, I knew it would be a favorite, and I think it's the best of my Bohrok-Kal posters. I had a very clear vision on how to portray the scene from the comics, with Nuvok being above Tahu and all the Tanakh flying into the air to show the sheer scale of his power. The gravity purple effect emanating from Nuvok was done through Photoshop, whilst all the rocks floating through the air were placed inside a blender. The motion blur was done in Photoshop, however. Another detail I added to all the Bohrok-Kal posters is I grayed out the Toa masks to match the lore and how they lost their elemental powers. That's really cool. You can see that right here. That's a really nice touch. The purple is just incredible. This makes me think of like Infinity War. Thanos using the Power Stone. Absolutely sweet. This one is awesome. This one is so sweet. That's a great phone background. Or like a vertical monitor. All our powers against us. That's some small text. Let's bring it up close. You guys still might not be able to read on the stream, but we're going to try. The Bohrok-Kal are about to free the Balrog. The mighty Toa Nuva don't have long to quell this catastrophe. Tahu unveils the Kanohi Vahi, the legendary Mask of Time. But will this be enough to beat the Kal? With their elemental powers stripped, they don't have long to save Metru Nui. So yeah, the Balrog Queen's trapped in a force field. The Bohrok-Kal stole all the Toa symbols, or the Nuva symbols, whatever, and they're about to awaken them. And if they do that, the swarms are back, and the Toa are screwed. Touchdown, Texas. Touchdown, Texas. Pending an extra point, we have a tie game. The Toa Nuva versus the Bohrok-Kal. The final showdown for the Bohrok. The Bohrok-Kal are about to break the seal on their queens and unleash the hordes upon Metru Nui once more. Can the Toa Nuva stop them before it's too late, even without their elemental powers? As this scene was to take place in the same arena as when the Balrog were sealed away, I used the same environment I created for that poster, but altered the camera angle and added a few more details, such as the energy field around the Balrog and the pillar of light where the Nuva cube floats. The wording is ripped straight from the comics right down to the format of the title. I also decided to match the coloring of the Vahi powers to the Legends of Metru Nui film, so it would be consistent. I also like how he showed all of this composition that shows all the Toa Nuva, the Bohrok-Kal, and the Balrog Queens all in one frame. I think is really sweet. We have this energy field on this side from the Toa. We've got the Balrog over here. I love this framing. It gives us all of like late 2002, early 2003, all summed up right here. And what's really nice, I think, is that the Balrog don't feel like they're out of place with the Toa Nuva. Obviously, the style changed a little bit here. These guys are clones, we know that, but the silver does look different. But the Balrog Queens actually still fit in quite nicely. Studio Ultra says, glad you're staying hydrated, man. Don't forget to take the whole water cooler home for work. Yeah, so for that Death Star stream, when it happens in October, I'm going to have to take that entire jug home. And, I mean, it's going to be over a day long. Zirion says, whoa, I didn't know you were doing a live stream. I love watching videos. Well, thank you very much. Trying to do more and more. This is episode 7 of the Stay Bricking Show. Gonna try to do more and more this year. Try to be more consistent with them because I love interacting with you guys this way. The videos and the comments are fantastic too, and that obviously opens the door for certain types of content, just doing them that way. But interacting is a treat too, so I really like doing these. Studio Ultra says, how is it every time Texas is winning, we're on a page of the Toa fighting the Balrog? So they are actually still not winning. We got a tie game. When Texas is succeeding, we're fighting the Bohrok. And you guys will see it on the, boy, how do I frame my hands here? On the bottom line here. Enter the giveaway for a e-gift card to Lego Shop. If Texas is winning at the time of the giveaway, we will double the $25 gift card to a $50 gift card. Eligible for everyone around the world internationally. Just follow the instructions on the giveaway form. Oh boy, here we go. The knees. The knees are coming, guys. They're bringing them. The Mask of Light has been found, and the quest for the 7th Toa has begun. Toa Matoran must evade the forces of evil to save the island and its people. We know who those guys are. Look at these Rahkshi. So sweet. I can't wait to see these pictures. You are now entering the quest of the Mask of Light. The Rahkshi. That's an awesome poster. I was going to say, yeah, it's got like a different kind of hue to the glow here, and I like that we have a different Rahkshi up front. But it's really awesome. I love this is like straight from one of the animations, this pose here. The Rahkshi, the Dark Sons of the Evil Makuta. I wanted to try my own attempt at promo poster for this villainous group. I followed a lot of the same design guidelines from the official poster, with a blast of light engulfing the background and misty smoke seeping into the foreground. Although I wanted this to be a simpler poster, the focus on only the Rahkshi without the added imagery of anything else, this meant no Krata or Mask of Shadows or Light. Again, just pulling them out from the background. I also opted to change this lighting to make the Rahkshi appear darker with hints of red and brown to hint at their evil nature. It was important that I show the Rahkshi in both bipedal and flight forms as to demo the play functions of the set too. Really neat stuff. The Rahkshi Unleashed. This is really cool. This actually, he doesn't show the inspiration down here, but what this reminds me a lot of is there's one shot of the Bohrok-Kal where they're all lined up in a row, and if you just like cut the toe out, it would kind of look like that. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Bawa, hello to you too, man. Welcome in. Welcome in. Enjoy as we read through the Bionicle world of Mata Nui. Book by iconicstills, an absolute legend in the Bionicle community. Taking the 2001 to 2003 storyline and making it as iconic and as special as we felt as kids. The first time we see the Rahkshi in the comics, they corner 3 of our Toa heroes against a canyon, ready to drop poisonous rubble down to bury them. I thought it would be fun to create a variation of this moment just before the Rahkshi backed them into a corner. The combined ball of power emanating off the tips of the Rahkshi staffs was made in Photoshop, along with the particle effects and smoke from Tahu's magma swords. I do try to keep a red light on the Rahkshi in most of my work to help reinforce that these are creatures of evil, even if it doesn't match with the environment. I feel it helps distinguish them a little bit. And I don't think that creates an issue at all, because again, like as an evil presence, I don't necessarily feel like they need to blend in perfectly. Like that alone is going to stand out and bring our eyes to them as villains. Rahkshi, let's go. Yes, the knees. We finally got some knees. Look at those right there. The first Bionicle sets ever to feature knees. And it made such a difference for posability. Landonicles. Iconicstills really knocked it out of the park in terms of making the Rahkshi look super terrifying. Definitely agree with you there. Takanuva versus, oh my goodness. Yeah, this is a moment from the comics here. He's so screwed. This, for me, was one of the best moments of the comics. Kopaka is on his own and ambushed by pretty much all the Rahkshi. 1 Toa versus 6 deadly Rahkshi. How could he hope to win? The fact he actually doesn't do too bad is even better. So I had to remake this panel as a poster. I had to do a lot of guesswork with this poster, what the environment looked like, how to best recreate the power effect from Kopaka's Toa tool, to how I was going to fit all the characters in frame, even though the comic panel wasn't spatially accurate. I could tell it took place at morning, so I let an orange glow reach from behind the Rahkshi, though I darkened the space around the Kopaka to emphasize his powers. I added in the 6th Rahkshi that wasn't in the original source and finally created a two-tone look with blue on top and orange at the bottom of frame to separate good from evil visually. Rashawn Footman says, my favorite silly moment is the black Rahkshi rocking out with his staff. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's a good one. I love the glow. Up here, obviously contrast blue good, red evil. The Sons of Makuta. Rahkshi searching. The promo videos for the Rahkshi brought back the sense of mystery from the early days of 2001 while also being menacing and dark. It was a feeling I wanted to capture with this poster dearly. To make this poster a reality, I modeled a rough version of the pillars seen in the promo ads, along with a series of Matoran letters depressed into the surface of the pillars. The poster really gave me the opportunity to get creative with Rahkshi poses and to play with a little depth more than usual. So he shows the inspiration here, and I remember they were like the mini CDs that came with the Rahkshi, and they each had these like flash animations. And yeah, we basically just get a look at the Makuta's lair and not really much else. CPA says these may have been Randy Elliott's panels. They definitely were. These absolutely were Randy's panels. Because we're coming in before his last issue. We're coming in before the end of 2005. These are Randy's. I feel like I actually just thought of like... It was one of the Rahkshi ones. I guess it was probably this one of Takanuva. This would be pretty sweet to send him over like the wireframe of this almost. Uh-oh. Getting stuck here. And there's our 6 Rahkshi. Oh, interesting color choices. Interesting color choices. Oh my goodness, look at this set. It looks so good. It looks so good. Search for the 7th Toa. The Mask of Light film follows not the mighty Toa, but 2 villagers, Takua and Jaller, as they search the island of Matsunui for the fabled 7th Toa. It was only right that I make my take on the search and how they braved evil, nature, and time. I wanted this poster to have a natural feel, so the colors aren't as vibrant, the earthy tones dominate the frame, and the sky is neutral. The Mask of Light is illuminating their way forward as Takua holds it up, yet Jaller is facing forwards, always taking charge. This poster is also the first time I used a terrain generator inside of Blender to help carve out the right shape of the cliffside I wanted. I think this might be my most true to life poster so far. It's less fantastical and more grounded, which is a big achievement for me. I guess what he really means by that is there's not a whole lot. We got the glow of the mask, but essentially this is basically an environment. Bionicle kind of takes the back seat, really, because we get the sense of the scale of this mountain that they're climbing. Studio Ultra says, imagine a Bionicle lore and storybook with these renders and artwork. Oh, like a whole collection of them? Oh my gosh. We got a question. I am Korean. Can I buy it now? Can you explain? I'm sorry, I do not speak English. Hey, you're fine. I hope that you're able to either have translated subtitles or something that you can understand me if you can't understand English. But essentially, check the link in the description to get the free PDF version of this book. The actual hard copy, they're not being produced right now. However, they're probably going to happen again in the future, I'm sure. So just follow iconicstills on social media. I'm sure the information will come there. I got this back in like September, and it was like just as it was getting cycled out. Coley head. You could have been Makuta Bones. Could have been, but I'm not. The battle for the Kanohi Aoki, aka the Mask of Light. This is so cool to me because these are scenes from the movie that I've seen so many times. But seeing them actually in set form instead of the movie versions of the characters is just so different to me. It's cool. The final showdown for the Toa Nuva, the battle for the Kanohi Aoki at Kini Nui. I love the imagery from the film showing the Toa surround our protagonists and fend off the Rahkshi together. It marks the moment they truly learnt to work as a team. How come the Toa have to over and over again learn to work as a team? I feel like every year, 2001 we had to come together. 2002 we had to ditch the Exo-Toa armor and use our powers again. And 2003 we're still bickering like a squabble of Gucko birds. Or squabble like Gucko birds. Why are we doing it? Come on, Toa. But yes, they finally get it together. They get their act together. And they come together to save... Well, I guess they didn't really save Jala, did they? We'll get to that. Is he going to have an image of Jala's death? When designing this composition for the shot, I knew I wanted the Mask of Light to be the brightest part of the scene against the darkest brought on by the Rahkshi. In the film, this scene takes place at what looks like dawn, so I matched the time of day here and used the same set of Kini Nui I used for previous posters, except this time from behind the temple. There he is. Oh my goodness, look at this mask glow. Takanuva. The goat. The goat. Eldon, our boy Takua, he's Takua no longer. We've got the man, Takanuva, the 7th Toa. CPA says, definitely going to send that to comparison picture to Randy. Absolutely do. It's pretty cool seeing and kind of showing to him of like what people do with his art from when he made it, of how we keep Bionicle going, is his art inspiring future work. There you go, CPA. I'll get as close as I possibly can here. Look at that thing. Whoop, this way. Look at that Kanohi. Absolutely gorgeous. Takanuva and the Usanui. The 7th Toa, the light in the dark, and the savior of Matanui. The official artwork really helps show how big of an event this character was. What's even better, he was our protagonist Takua all along, which is so cool. And the idea of a 7th Toa was just so unexpected at the time too. Like, it was always 6 with Bionicle. Everything was 6. But then the magic lucky number 7, here to save the island. The GOAT. I had just finished rigging up a newer version of the Takanuva and Usanui models and felt a wave of inspiration come over me to capture a really moody image. I wanted to focus on lighting as he is the Toa of Light after all. I kept to the same style as his promo artwork by having him in a stone-floored void, but added volumetrics, particles, and gave his mask an edge rim glow to properly demonstrate his mask working. Totally comes off that way. I love the clay rendered, kind of just shows that there's not even really a background. It's kind of just this rock terrain. And we can see very faintly here. Very faintly, but it's there. Cursed artwork. We're back at the cursed artwork. Studio Ultra said exactly what I thought. I imagine it's partly inspired by the glitter mask. Yep. I absolutely saw that first thing as well. This was the first poster I made of... Let me try to get this up a little bit, make it a little bit clearer there. This was the first poster I made of Takanuva back in 2022, before I used Evanetrix articulation parts pack, and before I moved over to Cycles rendering. Even though I learned so much more since this edit, I still appreciate what I was able to accomplish with far less. I wanted to create a stance poster like most of Takanuva's promo art, which usually had him standing proud with his staff on display. I really liked the Misty Storm look from the promotional CDs LEGO kept in some Rahkshi sets, and I wanted to replicate that idea here, but with my own twist. I used a blue hue for the clouds rather than the golden brown that LEGO had. So there's that golden brown. Oh, there you go. Someone other than CPA, say what number comic that is. I know you know which one it is, CPA, but can someone else name that? Oh, that is not pass interference. We just got hosed, guys. That was Tangled Feet. That's nonsense. Anyways, what comic number is this? You'll get a big round of applause from me. But CPA, you can't guess because I know you know what it is. You can definitely see the progression of his work in terms of this being like one of the first ones that he had made. Because it's just a little bit less, I think like the textures themselves have a little bit less realism to them. It looks more like a video game cutscene. CPA says, I have the game up too. Then you know exactly what just happened. I didn't get to see the replay, but on first glance at full speed, it looked like that they just got tripped up. Eldon says, that is my phone. What, Eldon? This one? This is your phone wallpaper? I guess it's got to be. This one's, unless you have a sideways one. That's awesome. Landonicles and Studio Ultra. Studio Ultra technically had it first, but you guys are both winners there. Number 14. Number 14. Infamous number 14. Takanuva descends into the darkness. Once the Rahkshi have been defeated, the Toa use their parts to build the Usanui vehicle, which then proceeds to last all of 2 minutes until Takanuva rams into Makuta's front door. Underrated thing to talk about, by the way. The Matoran and the Toa Nuva do this intricate job of actually building him this ridiculous motorcycle. Absolutely sweet vehicle. This thing is awesome. And he literally destroys it in like half a minute, which, by the way, and Holly's hiding inside of it, easily could have killed her. I mean, he wouldn't have known that she was inside of it, but like, bro. Takanuva. Buddy, we just can't be doing that. Oh, that's a backbreaker. That's a backbreaker. Adam. As we are ramping up to the end of 2003, I thought it would be a good idea to have a poster which actually shows this vehicle in use. Seeing it come down the tunnel of Kini Nui, I thought this was the best way to do so. Unlike the movie, which had this scene rather well lit, I wanted it to be dark, as though he's plunging into the depths and only the light of his mask could guide him through the underworld. This is definitely, again, another example of when we had a movie scene recreated in actual set form, and it's really cool to see. With the Rahkshi, this is super small text, so I'll try to hold it up a little bit. Oh, catch the ball. Texas dropped an interception. With the Rahkshi defeated, all that remains is the showdown with the Dark Lord Makuta. Takanuva must delve deep into the surface of Metru to fight for the fate of the Matoran. Will he succeed in freeing his people from Shadow? Can he finally bring peace to the island? Will Metru be awakened? Light versus Shadow. Everything now hangs on this moment. Actually, Ohio State dropped it more than Texas did. I take that back. Oh, look at this guy. This guy is so sweet. Look at this. Makuta. The big bad. I love the inspiration with the red that comes off of his shoulders here, just with the lighting. This is clearly the set version. Studio Ultra. That's a backbreaker. Holly said as Takanuva nearly obliterated her and then knew. Yeah, he straight up could have just destroyed her. He knew no better, though. And at the end of the day, remember, it is Takua. He was probably still upset about the whole Coley Championship, right? The Dark Lord himself. the father of the Rahkshi and terrorizer of the Matoran. He is powerful as he is cunning. I knew if I was going to make a poster of Makuta, it needed to be ominous, dark, and almost sickly. The effect which I think makes this poster work is the look of the poisonous gas drifting off his armor, almost as if he had formed from the smoke. I kept with the trend of using red light to signify evil by directing one red key light on his right hand side, and an off-grain key across his left. Dual tone lighting. Talked about dual tone lighting earlier. There you go, red and green, opposite sides of the color wheel. This two-tone look, oh, there it is right there, appears from evil and almost ill. He is the master of darkness and evil. He should look the part. This is a much older poster made in Eevee before I had learned so much more, but I'm happy with what I achieved that I didn't think it needed a remake. Oh, I'm cracking up. Landonicles, Grand Theft Usanui. Straight up. One of the best sets. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to go up there twice. Takanuva versus Makuta. The battle for Metru... Oh my goodness. For Mata Nui. How long has it been? It's been a little over 2 hours. How are we going to do 30 hours when the Death Star comes out? Work our way up there. Takanuva vs. Makuta. The climax of Bionicle's 2001 to 2003 storyline. Takanuva faces down the Dark Lord Makuta to free the island of Mata Nui from his evil grip. Everything we had seen so far had led up to this moment. Our protagonist, Takua, has now become the Toa of Light, Takanuva, and the fate of Mata Nui rests on his shoulders. Considering the final battle ends up being a Koli game, which is still hilarious, by the way. I mean, granted, yeah, I currently have a football game over there, and that's deciding how much our giveaway is going to be. But the fact that a Koli game decides the fate of Mata Nui, absolutely hilarious when you actually think about it. All of this build up, and it straight up comes down to who's better at Koli. I love it. It's so funny. I thought this was a wise decision to show the lead up to the fight, which would give me enough creative space to really realize the Makuta's lair. I squished a How mask to create the door to Metru Nui, and crudely constructed glass pillars with extruded distorted cylinders, wrapping around them to make the Rahkshi tubes. Lastly, with the theme being light versus dark, I made sure to portray Takanuva as the only light in this dark place, so bright that he exposes Makuta from the shadow. Kind of just like, what was it earlier that we had? It was something very similar. But I love the giant How mask in the background. Obviously, our gates there to awaken Mata Nui. This is really cool. I like seeing, again, here's another movie scene that we've got with just the set forms. I do still, I'm so bummed that we never got a version of the movie mask. I mean, they kind of tried to give us one at one point, but like a legit version of the movie mask would have been much better in my opinion. Studio Ultra says, yo, there's playing sports too. Hey, sports are everywhere. Oh, and here we go. Here's the cover. Here is the cover. My celebration poster. I wanted this to feel like an event, akin to something you'd see for a blockbuster film. It does kind of have Avengers vibes to it. Definitely does. So that's where I started looking for the first inspiration. However, in my research, I realized 2 creators had already thrown their hats in the ring to make Bionicle posters in this style. Another Bionicle account, and OluCG. We'll check them out. Studying their work and comparing it to LEGO's official work, I decided to incorporate elements from both creators' posters to inspire my own. I knew I wanted this to animate for the trailer, so I made care to render each character separately as their own plate, so I can manipulate each layer individually within After Effects. The flowing fire, rolling smoke, and glowing light were all added within After Effects. This was the first poster where I did most of the comping within After Effects rather than Photoshop. This was so the animation would be consistent with the poster. And yeah, so essentially After Effects, for those of you who don't know what After Effects is, it's Photoshop for moving images. It's the best way I could describe it. It's of a lot of the similar tools and effects of Photoshop, but you get to use it for video instead of just an image. Oh, great tackle. I also tried to use a wide range of characters from all across the first 3 years of Bionicle, so all set waves were represented. And it looks so fluid, too. And I think this just speaks to how well 2001 to 2003 built on each other. We don't have any stark differences. Like, I think if you drop the Toa Metru in here, the fact that the bold colors kind of shift away for Metru maybe would have required, like, more significant lighting. CPA says what we're all thinking. I want that poster in a huge, not huge, huge print. Massive print. 4th down. I'm gonna take a 5 oh, never mind. We got timeouts being called. All right, back to the book here. Inspiration. Bionicle Mask of Light. I'm gonna pull this up close after I pull down CPA's comment. Underneath where it says clay render, what's that poster from? Does anybody know? Was that like an alternate poster to the Mask of Light? I mean, you can see the inspiration from the mask as Makuta's mask in the background. This does give me Avengers vibes. The World of Metru Nui. We got some trailer frames here. That's pretty sweet. Oh, what? Look at this. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. The gift with purchase. Oh, I did not expect this at all. Oh, that's so funny. CPA says, is that the fan poster? I don't know. I don't know what that is. I think those are fan-made posters. Oh, okay. Got you. Yep, you guys are right. You guys are right. Those are the 2 accounts that he called out. So I'll bring that up close again. Shout out to another Bionicle account in Olu CG. Good call, guys. Good call. Oh, we got a Taco Bell commercial on. I can't wait to get some Taco Bell after this. The dream sponsor right there. The bell. The comeback. Bionicle returned in 2023 with a brand new set. Tahu and Takua. Kind of a brand new set. In brick form. It's a shame that it was a gift with purchase and couldn't be bought separately, but the very fact this exists at all is cause for celebration. The love and attention poured over this set won't be forgotten, from the manual and box art to the way LEGO has stayed faithful to the original designs. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the box sitting right next to me or anything, but it was so clearly done as a 2001 homage. Like, man, it was just... It was, I know people were like, we want the whole wave in the style, this and that, whatever. People were upset with the way it turned out, but at the end of the day, the fact that we got it was just a blessing. Like, the fact that LEGO actually gave us something from Bionicle in 2023, like, guys, we still got it. El Don says Baja Nui. Is that Taco Bell going to release that? Is Mountain Dew got a new flavor I don't know about? Baja Nui? And this looks sweet, obviously. We're coming back to the original Tahu poster here, essentially. And there's Tahu. The man who started us all off. Got it all going. Toa Tahu. And then we have our ending thoughts here. I'm going to take a pause real quick. Ohio State, 4th and 2 on the Texas 34-yard line. Will Howard commanding the snap. Man in the backfield. He's running a read option himself. He gets it with ease. Oh, he's gone for a touchdown. Oh, nope, he fell. The turf monster got him. He trips and falls at the 16-yard line. Not good. That could have been a big stop for Texas. It's looking like a $25 giveaway, guys. Ending thoughts. When I started making Blender posters, I never considered this hobby would snowball into this gargantuan of a project. A fully CG intro ad, new music, a whole new art book. I've had so many kind, excited, meticulous, and helpful responses from everyone who views my work, and I wish to give the biggest thank you to each and every single one of you. Everyone who's seen my art, shared it to their friends and family, who've commented and given me such wonderful responses. This project is for you, and I hope you've enjoyed it. To those who have helped me along the way, teaching me skills and techniques, offering advice and support, you have all done so much to help bring this project to life, and the next few pages are dedicated to giving everyone the recognition they deserve. From those who have actually made the 3D models to everyone who's spoken to me directly, I owe you all the biggest thanks I can muster. This project wouldn't have been possible without the help and support from this incredible community. I hope this book can inspire those wanting to make their own art, help those curious about creating Blender art, and return all our minds to a time before time, on a golden sandy beach where a canister washes up and a legend begins. Here's to Bionicle and the Bionicle community. Look at how many people were involved with this. I mean, just look at how many. And so we see iconic stills, but look at how much was done here. So much. No. Oh my gosh. That is so funny. Oh my gosh. This is hilarious. Look at the Bohrok queens and the Bohrok having a picnic. That is so funny. And that's the end of our book. Over 55 posters from Bionicle 2001 to 2003 storyline, with behind-the-scenes looks at the creative process and much, much more. I'm going to go ahead and flip that camera, that auto-powered off, back on real quick, and then switch over to the other shot. And we're low on battery, so actually we're going to pull that shot down. Flip that. Ohio State touchdown. So we'll stay on for Texas's next drive, and if Texas can tie it up, maybe we'll do something crazy. But just fire away in the chat. We'll do a quick little Q&A. We'll just talk about the book a little bit. We'll hang on for a little bit longer. All right, so I'm actually going to switch the cameras over. That camera battery is about to go, and the other one's pretty much not charged. So I'm going to switch this camera over to there. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to pause the stream here, but we'll be right back in about 30 to 60 seconds. All right. There we go. Welcome back in, guys. So yeah, that camera was dying, so I just put the other one up there. Texas big play. We're in business. So yeah, iconicstills absolutely crushed it. Absolutely crushed it with this book. I'll grab the other one over here for those of you who don't know. And there's a whole separate stream. Nice fumble. Metru Nui, Mata Nui. Got them both. These will look great on the shelves. I don't know when he's going to make these in production again, but what I can say is that when they do, they were like, I think $50 each in US currency, and totally worth it. Totally worth it. You guys saw the quality of this, and again, if you can't, you can still get the art for free, which I think is really nice of him to provide that out for free. The amount of hours that went into these books, I cannot fathom. You saw how many people were involved. I cannot fathom how much work went into that. So let's go ahead and go through the chat here, see what I missed here. Going up here. What's a Lego color you wish was used in more Bionicle figures? Maybe some sand colors. I think maybe some sand colors would be pretty cool. All right, so I think I'm waiting to run this giveaway because Texas is literally on the goal line. That's pass interference in the end zone. So I know that if they're winning, I said I would double the giveaway amount. So I'm just waiting for the end of this drive. They're probably just going to tie it up. I don't think they'll go for it. But if they're tied, now that see they're not winning. They're not winning. Studio Ultra says it definitely looked like a lot of work. Big props to, yeah, massive props to everyone involved. I said it again. I said it during the Metru Nui stream. And iconicstills kind of point to the fact, too, of we are the reason that Bionicle stays. The community is the reason it stays. Lego is obviously... Now, whether or not G3 actually happens or not, my stance, I feel like, is pretty clear of it's got to happen. Like, there's so many people that would rally behind those sets that we need G3 to happen. I guess we don't need it, but it would do well. I know it would. There's so many Bionicle fans out there. Look at how much... the community, look at the games that are being made, look at these books that are being made, look at all the content that's being made, the communities, like individual subreddits. It's there. Lego can take advantage of it. I just waiting for them to do it. Now, whether or not G3 ends up just being like a reproduction of G1, I'm honestly fine with that. If they just want to revamp, come revisit 2001 models, make them a little bit more complex, adds pieces, raise the price, whatever. Well, obviously the price is going to go up. Make them more detailed models, sure. That doesn't bother me one bit. But I think there's an opportunity for G3, and this community is so strong for Bionicle, and we keep pushing this thing going that maybe, just maybe one day we can show just how much we want it. I do want to show one more time that that trailer that iconicstills had made. So let's go ahead and take a look at the trailer for the World of Mata Nui. Texas 4th and goal. Quinn Ewers back. Drops. Oh, fumble. And Ohio State picks it up, but they're going to run it all the way back for a touchdown. Wow. That's like a 95-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. Sorry, guys. It's going to be a $25 giveaway. Let's run the giveaway. Wow. That's... Arch Manning doesn't fumble that ball. Let's go ahead and run the giveaway. By the way, if you guys haven't entered it yet, you got about 5 seconds to with the link in the description. Go ahead and go set this up because I have to go ahead and set the formula. So you got a couple seconds left to hop in there. And where are we at here? Just gonna run that stream here, or run this formula. The winner of the $25 gift card to Lego Shop. Use it. Let me know in a future stream what you end up using it for. If you end up saving it for something else, is Bawa. Congratulations to you. I'll send over that gift card shortly after the stream is over. Once it wraps up in the next couple minutes here, I will send that over to you. I just realized that this cord is hanging here. That's not nice. And we're going to have to just deal with it. Anyways, thank you guys for all of you who have joined in this stream. It's been a blast. It's been a long one. What, 2.5 hours just about? It's been a long stream. It's been a long night, but it's always a blast tuning in and doing Bionicle content with all you guys and engaging with all you guys. So thank you very much. We'll see you maybe next week. There'll be a stream. I'm not sure what it might be. A lot of you are asking when Mata Nui Monday's coming back. It's not going to be this week. I can promise you that. But it will be sometime in the near future. Probably January 20th. Probably January 20th. So, as always, I think we got to sign this one off the same way that we signed off with Metru Nui. Unity, duty, destiny. This is the way of the Bionicle. And as always, stay bricking.